reports come from Eastern Europe. Russian military warehouses, vehicle staging areas, and transport ships keep blowing up inside Russia-held territory in Ukraine, as well as along the border in Russia itself. Yes, Ukrainian attack helicopters and explosives-laden suicide drones are responsible for some of these attacks. But it's evident that Ukrainian brigades firing old Tochka ballistic missiles are responsible for many, if not most, of the Ukrainian deep strikes targeting Russian logistical infrastructure. After its 1,000-pound payload detonates, the 2-ton, 21-foot missile typically leaves portions of itself on the ground, more or less intact. The most striking of the most recent Ukrainian missile attacks was also the most recent. Someone was recording on their phone as 3-wheeled launchers from the 19th Separate Missile Brigade fired their Tochkas successively in rapid succession in broad daylight on or before Thursday. A soldier carrying a Stinger shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile is also shown in the footage, possibly keeping an eye out for Russian drones. The Stinger protection serves as a useful reminder that Tochkas have a limited range, between 44 and 75 miles, depending on the type, and are therefore susceptible to identification and counter-battery fire from enemy troops that may be located within a few miles. However, 75 kilometers is sufficient for strikes against crucial logistical hubs supporting Russian forces, including those right across the border. According to Forbes.com, since Russia widened its war in Ukraine starting in late February, Ukrainian Tochkas have blasted, at the minimum, 2 airfields in southern Russia, a Russian fuel convoy in Chernihiv in northern Ukraine, a Russian ammo depot in Krustelny in eastern Ukraine, and another Russian facility in Svatovo, also in eastern Ukraine. A Ukrainian Tochka apparently also set ablaze the Russian Navy landing vessel Saratov in the occupied port of Berdyansk in southern Ukraine. Considering that Russian forces claim to have shot down several Tochkas mid-flight, the tally of successful attacks represents just a portion of the Ukrainian Tochka launches in the first 120 days of the wider war. We don't know for sure how many Tochkas Ukraine had going into the war. Possibly 300 or more, along with at least 40 launchers. The missiles apparently were a mix of 1970s vintage A models and late 1980s B models. Kyiv's logisticians obviously took care to preserve the aging missiles across their decades of frontline service. All of Ukraine's Tochkas are ex-Soviet examples. The Ukrainian industry can't manufacture replacement missiles, so it's worth asking what happens after the 19th Separate Missile Brigade or some other unit fires the last of those 300 or so rounds. It's possible Ukraine could acquire spare missiles from an ally. The Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Poland once operated Tochkas and might still have some in storage. Bulgaria still operates the Tochka and could pass along its missiles. Missile transfers could sustain Ukraine's deep strikes as the war grinds on. Ever since Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February, the war has been an uneven fight of sweeping breakthroughs, tactical withdrawals, and grinding attrition that has made progress in the conflict difficult to gauge. Russian forces are continuing to press forward with their aims of capturing more of the Luhansk and Donetsk provinces and now have their sights on Lysychansk, the sister city of Syeverodonetsk, where Ukrainian troops once again find themselves under fire from a devastating Russian artillery barrage. Saturday for Ukraine's strategic Lysychansk, as Kyiv denied a claim by Moscow-backed separatists that they had encircled the eastern city. Clashes have been intense in Lysychansk, the last major city in the Luhansk region of the Donbas still in Ukrainian hands, located across the river from neighboring Severodonetsk seized by Russia last week. The city's capture would allow Russian forces to push deeper into the battleground Donbas region, which has become the focus of their offensive since failing to capture Kyiv after invading in late February. Fighting rages around Lysychansk, The city has not been encircled and is under control of the Ukrainian army, Ruslan Muzachuk, a spokesman for the Ukrainian National Guard, said on Ukrainian television. Earlier in the day, Andrei Marachko, a spokesman for the separatist forces, told the TASS news agency, Lysychansk is completely encircled. The announcements come as missiles continue to rain down across Ukraine, killing dozens. Rockets struck residential properties in Lysychansk in the heart of the Donbas, killing a woman in her garden and wounding her husband, a neighbor told AFP Saturday, describing debris showered across the neighborhood. The witness said the strike on Friday was thought to use cluster munitions which spread over a large area before exploding, striking buildings and people who were outdoors. Strikes on the southern resort town earlier Friday left 21 dead and dozens wounded after missiles slammed into flats and a recreation center in Sergivka, 80 kilometers south of Black Sea port Odessa. The attacks came after Moscow abandoned positions on a strategic island in a major setback to the Kremlin's invasion. In an attempt to save face, Russian Defense Ministry has described the retreat as a goodwill gesture, claiming the move demonstrates that Russia is not interfering with UN's efforts to establish a safe maritime trade route to export Ukrainian grain to the rest of the world. Ukraine disputed Russia's statement. There's a lot of talk from Russia about pulling out from Snake Island being a goodwill gesture, said Andriy Yermak, head of the office of the President of Ukraine. Allegedly, this means Russia does not interfere with humanitarian corridors to export Ukrainian grain. That's absolutely false. Ukraine's commander-in-chief Valery Zaluzhny posted video footage of Ukrainian strikes on the Snake Island, highlighting the effective use of Ukraine's own Bodena self-propelled 155mm artillery. The size and composition of the Russian garrison at the island remain unclear, just as how much of this force Moscow managed to evacuate.